So, well, my name is Adam. I'm a crystal child and a Melchizedek. Um, which is something, maybe it's time I should start talking. Like, I don't know. I've made a bunch of videos and I never put them out, and like, guides were telling me to do it on this or that, and I don't know. I don't think I really want to do it that way. I'm kind of just going to do it my own way. Well, basically, I think it's real. Like, that there is something like that. That, basically, I know I'm a real psychic. Is like, probably the way to start talking about it. Is that there's no doubt in my mind that I've seen the future before it happened. I've had angels and spirits and aliens tell me about the future before it happened. And so this is like a really controversial topic. About like what is a crystal child. Is it real? Like, what are we supposed to label it, and all of this? And basically, I don't think we are supposed to label it. I think there's some recognition of like, this is a real psychic and a real teacher. That there's something like that to be said about it. But it shouldn't be a religion, probably, is the right way to put it. That we would not want to, like if we had a vision of Jesus, we would not just do whatever he said, or something like that. Like, it would be like Jesus would be more like a consultant than a religion. Which would be what a crystal child's reading would be, more like a consultant. I think we would be more than a consultant in some ways. That we would, people would understand that we're doing some of this a little bit better. That we would be recognized to have a gift, basically. That there would be a gift for you. Like if you recognized me as something like that, you could get a gift from me, from it. Like, I don't think I would go without, like, thinking about the word crystal child. Like, I'll think about that for the rest of my life after the visions I've had and stuff like that. That there is a dimensional way of looking at things where, yes, I am a crystal child. Like, angels say I'm a crystal child. All kinds of things like that are happening. But so yeah, basically I can give you like a pretty accurate way of looking at it, which, like, I talked to Jesus, I talked to Krishna, I talked to Shekinah, which are all archetypes of God, like a messenger or something. So Shekinah is the one who taught me, like, about this girl who appeared to be my twin flame, and she said that this girl is the mirror to my heart. Which I don't know much about twin flames or anything. It was more, I saw this girl in a fire with me, and like it was a vision. It was like in the future. So like the fire was there, like twin flame, which is why I use that word probably more. That's probably the main reason I would call it that. It's just because there was a fire when I had the vision of her. But I don't know, I wanted freedom. Like, there's certain things I didn't like about this awakening. Like, I wanted freedom from all these visions and everything in the future. I wanted to be able to change the future. I didn't like how some of it seems set in stone or something like that. But yeah, so Shekinah, the female Christ, like visits me. She's taught me all kinds of things. And one day I was asking her about like spirit guides and Jesus and all this, and her, it was I asked her if I was better off just doing my own thing or if I should like follow her. And Shekinah said that she thinks I'm better off without her. Like we were better off without a God. And that came from God, like the archetype. So she taught me about like the independent. Like she thinks that's like the best. The way the independent thing came up, I was looking for a hat on the internet, and I was looking at this independent hat. Like Independent is a skateboard company, and she's like picked that one out for me. She's like, I think this is the best one. So I recognize her as like my teacher, like it's a real teacher, but she's willing to tell me not to, like, sign my identity over to her or my decisions or my freedom, my free will. She said I'd be better off not doing that, not just giving it to her like that. Is basically the way I take it. Like I don't think she would say to like never consult her. I don't think that's what it meant, but maybe we're better off just not talking to angels at all. I don't know what she meant exactly yet. But the way I take it from my own experience is that that it is a gift to be able to learn about some of these things. Like that yeah, I mean, to know the future, to know all kinds of things. I don't see that as a bad thing at all. Like so yeah, so basically the crystal child thing, like I've had a lot of visions. I'm 38 years old, and I've been seeing aliens for 13 years. I've known I was a crystal child for about 7 years, maybe 8. I think 7 years. 7 years ago, I learned it. So I've had a lot of visions about the crystal children, and these angels come to teach me about what it is. And so I ended up basically channeling a new book that appears to be about the crystal children. I didn't write a book, but I wrote blogs. I just jotted notes or whatever from the visions. But so like crystal children appear to be what the angels call hears, and then other people are theirs. And the way that this lesson came up was about my sex life, where I'd had this. I used to sell LSD, and I did it a lot, and it was like my favorite thing. Basically, my higher self told me he wanted me really high on acid, like in this life, so that I guess he steered me to sell acid. Anyway, so one night my girlfriend and I took a bunch of acid, and we ended up having this telepathic conversation. We were like laying in bed, and we had a bunch of green gel tabs in a cigarette cellophane that shattered, and we were eating little pieces of it all night. And like laying in bed talking, and just getting higher and higher and higher. And then my friend, there was a party downstairs, and my friend came up and came into the room and started talking, and all I heard was like blah blah blah, like Charlie Brown's parents. And I sat up on the bed to talk to him, And he sat down on the couch, and I was like, I'm sorry, man, I'm too high. Like, I can't understand anything you're saying. And I was like, blah, blah, blah. And he got up and, like, walked out of the room. And I laid back down on the bed with my girlfriend, and we just, like, went right back into our conversation. Like, nothing, like, I couldn't understand anything he was saying, but she and I were, like, in this whole other dimension together talking. And, so we're like laying in bed, like, on our side or something like that, face to face, like, real close, like, staring into each other's eyes, and all of a sudden I could, like, hear her words, like, in my head, and I could see the words in her eyes, her facial expressions, like, changing, her eyes were changing with the words as I'm hearing them, but her mouth wasn't moving. And I stopped her. I was like, hey, am I talking without moving my mouth right now? Like, staring into her eyes, and she just started laughing, but her mouth still wasn't moving, and she's like, yeah. And I was like, you are too. And like, our eyes were, like, lit up, like, laughing, but we weren't moving our mouth and laughing. And then we ended up having sex, like, really high on acid, and we had this, like, telepathic type of sexual experience. And so this was a long time ago, when I was like 20 years old or something like that, and I'm 38 now. And so, like, when I was, like, I guess, this was just recently, I mean, the past couple of years, when I learned about this, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, I started to channel this here's and there's thing. But that sexual experience is how the angels taught me about here's and there's. And they were explaining to me that I was a here. Like, that's why that kind of sexual thing happened. So I think it has to do with this, like, twin flame, that I was a person who was born, like, ready to, like, find my twin flame. And I was a crystal child. And that's why this type of sexual experience happened. So the angels were explaining that here's, basically we're different kinds of people, that other people wouldn't have that same type of an experience. Which they didn't say it that way. It was kind of, I took it that it was implied that they used that experience to teach me about it, that I would be different. Because they also pointed out that this other person was there at the same time. Like, you were here, and this person's there. And they're explaining that theirs are just kind of there, is the way the angel worded it, I think. And so I think it was an angel that worded it, they were just kind of there. I get all kinds of visions. Like, when an angel starts talking, sometimes other people come in and start talking and filling in all these different ways of looking at it. So other visions I've had was, like, how my sisters are there, and, like, people were setting her up. And so it's something that I think that some people wouldn't understand the way they're being set up necessarily the same as others, which I don't know much about why I was being taught about her being set up as, like, her being there, and that's going to be a lesson that's going to come up that I'll probably make a video of in the future when I learn about it. But that was one of the ways that I was being shown that they used the word there, like, in some type of pointing things out to me. So what I think it's about, I think that, well, an alien told me that I'm finished with reincarnation, and I came back as a teacher. And I'm not just a crystal child, I'm also a Melchizedek. So I don't believe he specified, the alien, that it's because I'm a crystal child, or that it's because I'm a Melchizedek. I kind of guessed that that crystal children are finished with reincarnation and came back as teachers. And it's more of a educated guess on that. But I could be wrong about it. The teacher part could be the Melchizedek, and I'm not totally done. The reason that I thought it was the crystal children is because of my awakening. Well, there's a few different things. My crystal child awakening, I had just written, well, I had been listening to Blog Talk Radio, and there was this guy on the radio talking about how we shouldn't be in relationships with people because people are fragmented. And so we meet them one day and they're one person, but then the next day it's like a whole different person. So there would be no point in having a monogamous relationship because you're not with that person. It's always a different like a different mood, different thought, different person altogether the next day is what he was saying. And so, like, I ended up thinking, it was kind of a profound thought. Like, I was like, wow, that guy's probably not too far off. Like, but I was thinking about it where, well, I ended up writing a blog about it. Or not a blog, a journal. I don't think I didn't share it with people. In the journal I wrote was about how you could take all the fragments of a person, like their broken heart or something, and put them all back together into like one whole person, like a circle. And so I had just written that, like, and then like the next day was when I had my crystal child awakening, which is probably an important story to tell you about crystal children, the way that I learned this. So my girlfriend was basically, like, she died. But there was like I grew up in the mafia, and there was like a mob hit, like that probably had something to do with it. Like, I don't know everything that went on. So anyway, I'm sitting in this chair the day after I had written that little journal entry, and all of a sudden, like in front of me, there's like the alien beach scene from the movie Contact when Jodie Foster sees her father. It was just like that, except instead of her father walking up the beach, it was my dead girlfriend, and she was with this guy who's like holding her like she'd been hurt or something, and like walking her, like making sure she's okay, and they're like walking towards me on the beach, and the guy looks like a school teacher. He's got like a beard, like a friendly guy, he wouldn't like hurt a fly or something, a guy like that. And the guy says, like, man, that guy must have thought he was bulletproof, like when they walked by me on the beach. And then, right after they walked by, there was like an alien on one side of my head and an angel on the other side, like out of my peripheral, like you could like, I could like barely see them, but I could see it, like there was like a light and like little, I could kind of see what was there. And they're like, Adam, you're a crystal child. So, like, it was kind of, like, implied that some guy had hurt my girlfriend, and that he, like, thought he was bulletproof, like, he could go out and do that to me, and I would never know. And, like, it turned out that she's a crystal child, too, like, both of us were, and she had, like, set this guy up, like, she was really psychic, basically. So, it basically looks like this guy did not think that I would be a medium who would catch him, basically, is what it looked like to me. Those literally like 2 minutes of a crystal child awakening, that's what I saw. Like, since I was a crystal child, this guy's not bulletproof. If I wasn't a crystal child, he would be bulletproof, because I would never even know. I would never be able to talk to her as a dead person. I would never know what happened. Something like that. I would never put it all together. And so the journal about like putting the heart back together, there was like a circle, like that came to, because the circle's the like complete wholeness. So you like put all the broken pieces to your heart back together to have a relationship with somebody as like a whole, like embrace them as a whole person, is the way that I wrote it. And there was something about that journal, like in the crystal child awakening, like maybe I thought about it, that I thought about like the circle and the wholeness, and that's what I was thinking when they told me I was a crystal child. Something, I think that's what I was thinking. Like, I've tried to, I mean, I didn't write it all down, what I saw, but, like, that's how I remember it, that I think I did think about that journal entry, like, in that vision, that lucid dream. I think I did have that thought about the circle, and, like, so anyway, like, when the alien, like, this was, like, years later, recently, maybe a year ago, an alien drew a gold circle with his finger, and he told me that I was finished with reincarnation and came back as a teacher. And I forget, like, what I was thinking or what it was about when he said that. If it was about crystal children, if it was about Melchizedek, if it was just about me. Like, I didn't write it down fast enough. Like, that happens to me all the time, where I don't get these things down, get them very accurate. But I'm sure that like, I will get it together. I wondered if this was too early to make a video, because I don't exactly know where all the pieces fit, but I can at least get this to you pretty well. So the circle I've seen in other places, there's like a Crystal Child song by Bexento, and there's like a YouTube video and it has a circle on it. So I've seen this circle like over, and that's like the completion. And that's why it seems to, it came up like maybe 3 times now, this circle did. And so I started to get kind of comfortable with it. And so like the here's and there's thing, like that, it took a while before I was sure that here's were crystal children. I started to have visions of other crystal children I know, and the angels talked about them, that they were here's. So that appears to be a crystal child thing and not a Melchizedek thing, the here's and there's. So yeah, all these pieces are kind of fitting together, that it is looking like a crystal child is finished with reincarnation and came back as a teacher. That is what it looks like is probably going to turn out to be to me. Yeah, so I guess that's the basic gist of like the crystal child thing to me at this point, that that it is a real thing, and there is a gift, and that it is gonna save your life, like it can, and it but I don't think that Jessica Shab's all that far off. Like, I think that the way that Diego's writing it is pretty useful. Like, in the end, we're going to look at that as like kind of like a tight booklet. But I think that there's a book called Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts. And I forget what page, like 145, I think, or something. I memorized the sentence. The sentence is, some finished with reincarnation may choose to re-enter the cycle, acting as teachers. And in such cases, some recognition of a higher identity is always present. Which I really like the way that that's worded. It says some recognition, which implies that we don't label it complete recognition. There would be no label, but we would recognize this person has a gift, I guess, for us. Not just for themselves, that this person would have something to offer to us, basically. And that seems to be able to work. Like, we could work with that, even with the people who don't want the label. Like, that still works. That we could still use this type of a thing. And so Abraham, like, that's from the book Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts. And that's Jane Roberts is who created Esther Hicks. Like, Esther Hicks read Jane Roberts' book, and Jane Roberts channeled Seth. Like, Esther Hicks channeled Abraham. And so Abraham said that we shouldn't label people. They wouldn't label people. And so that fits. Like, Esther Hicks read Jane Roberts, and then, like, they played with the Ouija board, and it worked for her too, just like it worked for Jane Roberts. That was the story I heard from Esther Hicks, how she started doing that, which is the same as me. Seth Speaks was my book too. That's like my favorite book, probably. Yeah, so I don't think we're gonna necessarily create a religion of it, but I think it'll be impossible to not see that as a psychic, to not believe that there would be something to gain in knowing the future, different things like that. So I guess I felt like maybe I should make this video right now, because it is a very controversial thing, and people do look very lost and confused about it, and like, I probably did this a little bit better, and it would be worth it for people to see what I'm looking at with it. Yeah, I guess that's basically it. Like, this will be my first video if I put it up. Well, my first, like, monologue video or whatever. I have one other video that's out there. It's just me talking about this necklace or whatever. Which is another way to look at the crystal children if you watch that video too, which would be the first one on my YouTube channel. It would show that something like that doesn't really happen to everybody, but it happened to me while I was talking to another crystal child, was when it fell off. So yeah, definitely watch that video too if you like this one. That one's only like 1 minute long or something. It's really fast. Yeah, so hopefully this video works out for you, and my name's Adam Grandy. I'm on Facebook. I channeled the name starseedzero. It's all one word, starseedzero, like the word zero, Z-E-R-O. I have a Gmail account, starseedzero@gmail. I don't really check it or anything. Yeah, so yeah, feel free to hit me up if you want, and I'll see you guys around.